I went to Vietnam, and it was a year tour. I was stationed at Nha Trang, which is about halfway up the coast from Saigon to the DMZ. And we basically supported the Army Special Forces. Our aircraft could fly into 1,500 feet of dirt, bring in 10,000 pounds of cargo, ammo, Vietnamese guerrilla-type troops that the Special Forces had trained. We hauled everything from troops to beer to live animals to bring to the camps. And occasionally, one time I was fortunate to be selected to take Martha Raye and her group around to 3 different Special Forces camps.
Right, to entertain.
For entertainment.
Yeah.
So that was a pleasure, and
What was that like when you're flying and you got Martha Raye, who at the time was a big star?
Well, we kind of planned it very much like, I was still a major at the time. We kind of planned it very much like the president plans his missions. If he flies in Air Force One, they always have a backup in case Air Force One breaks down. So I was the lead and had Martha on board and some of her troop, and then the backup was following us. And as long as my airplane stayed in commission, then we were home free. I will mention an interesting sidelight to this. A lot of people didn't know this. Martha Raye was a lieutenant colonel in the Army Reserve. She was also an honorary member of the U.S. Army Special Forces. And she was also trained as a surgical nurse. And apparently there were doctors over there that knew her talent in that thing, and when she was there, they would ask her to help them. On this trip where we were visiting 3 Special Forces bases, we were contacted by the Special Forces at our last one and said, you've been directed to not to go back to Nha Trang, but to fly Ms. Raye to Cam Bay. She's needed at the hospital. So we took off, and Cam Bay's probably 30 miles from Nha Trang, so it's just right down the coast.
Right.
We went back and took her there, and we waited a while, and they said she wouldn't be able to go back until tomorrow. So we took off, went back to Nha Trang, and then came back over the next day and picked her up.
Wow, interesting.
So, and she was one tough lady.
Yeah, she had to be. Yeah. Did you have a scary moment in Vietnam?
I guess the scariest moment you always have is when you're going into a very short landing strip, and you can fly that 123 at 90 knots, fully loaded. And if you've only got 1,200 feet and it's dirt, you got to get in right on the end and get your props in reverse as quickly as possible.
Immediately.
And so it was never really scary, but let's put it this way: you were at maximum performance, not on just landing, but on takeoff also. Because you also have to worry about, okay, it's enough to land, is it there enough to take off?
Yeah.
And But no, I never had a real scary moment where I thought the airplane was going to crash, or we got shot at a lot with small arms fire. Frequently, we'd get hit but never know it.
Right.
And when they get the aircraft back on the ground, the maintenance folks would find a hole in the wing or a hole in the tail. They were just small arms fire, though it wasn't anti-aircraft.
Was there a different mood in the military in Korea compared to Vietnam, or was it kind of the same in both wars?
I probably wasn't in combat long enough in Korea to make a completely objective evaluation. We were more aware in Korea, in Vietnam, of the fact that we could see politics coming into not so much what we did in the 123, but what the fighters did, and later what the B-52s did. And we were smart enough then that this concerned us, still concerns me, that if you're going to send an armed forces over there with their commanders, you need to let them fight the war.
Right.
You can't fight that from the Oval Office,
Right.
nor can you fight it from the halls of Congress. And I think that was probably, it was certainly more prevalent in Vietnam than it was in Korea. In the current wars, I think we see it every day. So it seems to be, to me, an alarming increase of not letting the fighting men fight the war.